At least it's not too late. Okay. So again, we're doing these kind of revolution conversion problems. I believe you've done stuff like this in chemistry. Basically what's happening is I'm giving you a unit and we want to convert to something else. And we're given all the tools that we need in order to go from one to the other. So letter H, this is the one we left off on. It's a table and it shows the size specification for tires as it comes for these 3 different vehicles. So I've got tire diameter and I've got the vehicle that it's attached to. And letter A says, find the speed of each vehicle in miles per hour when the wheels are turning at 800 revolutions per minute. So what it gave me is 800 revolutions per minute. And we want to know what's the speed. And that speed is in mph, which we know is miles per hour. So essentially we're going from revolutions per minute, and I need to get into the form of miles per hour. Okay, I promise we can do that. I had to give you these tire diameters because we need to use that in order to solve. Let's come over here and let's think about a wheel. If this is a wheel of mine, and let's say this is my spot, 1 revolution means I'm going all the way around on this tire. It's like if I cut the tire and I like laid it flat. So I'm going all the way, like I start at one point on the tire, I go all the way around. That's 1 revolution. Everyone good with that? What's another math word for revolution? Circumference. This is the circumference. So 1 revolution is equal to the circumference. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the circumference given all of these diameters, and that's going to help us with speed, okay? Now, yesterday when we did circumference, we said circumference equals 2 pi r. For those of you I had in geometry, I know I also taught you that circumference is the same as pi times d. So 2r is the same thing as the diameter. So since I have diameter, we're going to do pi times all of these numbers, times pi, times pi, times pi, and we're going to figure out what the circumference is in inches, okay? So we're going to do that on our calculators. I'm just multiplying each of these diameters by pi to figure out what my circumference is, or what's equal to 1 rotation. So 26.6 times pi, and I do want these decimals, so 82.18 inches is my first one. 28.63 times pi is going to be 89.94 inches. And then last 28.95 times pi is 90.95 inches. This is all circumference, which we know is equal to 1 revolution. We okay with that so far? And I'm moving quick, but I figure you can multiply numbers by pi. Okay, we need that because now we're going to take our 800 revolutions per minute and get down to miles per hour, okay? So let's get started. I'm going to use what unit they gave me to start with. Also, when I did conversions in chemistry, my teacher taught us some kind of like railroad thing. If you don't like this method, that's fine. But I'm going to start with 800 revolutions per 1 minute, okay? And we're going to pick either the revolutions or the minutes, and we're going to get it to either miles or hours. I think going to hours from minutes is probably the easiest place to go, right? How do I go from miles to hours, or minutes to hours? Excuse me, minutes. Multiply by 60. So there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. Good, and I'm not going to do any multiplying yet, but I know that minutes are being multiplied because then my minutes unit cancels. And now I have hours, which is what I wanted. We okay with this so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we want to get rid of revolutions and we want to get into miles. Well, we know 1 revolution is equal to circumference. So I can say 1 revolution, and I'm going to put that on bottom so it cancels out with my other revolution, is equal to any of those circumferences. Let's start with the first one that we see. The first one is 82.18 inches. So this was my like circumference little part right there, and we had to use it to get rid of the revolutions. Now I'm in inches, and I got to get inches into miles. What do you think I should do first? Inches into feet. Let's get inches into feet. How many inches are at a foot? What? Oh, you're telling me feet to miles. Hold that for 2 more seconds, Jane. No, but that's a good number to know because not everyone knows that one. There's only 12 inches in 1 foot. So we're just doing a super basic one right now. 12 inches into 1 foot. And then Jane was ready to tell me how many feet are in a mile. And that's good, 5,280. Now, truly, that's one that like doesn't stick in my brain, but once we do it enough times, I do remember it. But if you haven't thought about that in like weeks, months, years, you probably didn't remember that one. But 5,280 is how many feet are in a mile. Good. I canceled out all my inches, all my feet, all my revolutions, all my minutes. Now I'm down to miles per hour. Miles are on top, hours are on bottom. That's what I want, right? Now I'm going to multiply everything on top together, and I'm going to divide by everything on the bottom. You know, I do this a little old school, so you can be a little less careful than I am, but I'm going to multiply the tops together. So I'm going to multiply 800 times 60 times 82.18. Good. And then now I'm going to divide that by 12. I'm going to press enter. So divide by 12, enter. And then I'm going to divide by 5,280. And then I press enter. All my numbers are taken accounted for. So that means that my speed here, the first car is a Ford Taurus. The speed for that one is 62.3 miles per hour. Now I like to do what I call an ODA check. Is 62.3 miles per hour something you could do? Yeah. Did anyone drive on the interstate to get here this morning? You might have gone 62.3 miles an hour, right? That's a normal distance. That's a normal speed for a car. So we're allowed to go that amount. That makes sense. That's my ODA check. All right. Technically, we should do that for the other two. If I were to do it, we're not going to just for sake of time, but if I were to do it for the other two cards, the Dodge Charger and the Mercury Mariner, what's the only thing I would need to change here?
Your circumference.
The only thing I would need to change is my circumference. The revolutions per minute's the same. Minutes per hour is never going to change. Feet per inch or inches per feet is never going to change. Feet per mile is never going to change. So if I were to do this again for my Dodge Charger, I would not do 82.18. I would instead do my 89.94 and then plug back in. Is everyone okay with that? Okay. For sake of time, though, I want you to flip over to I. Let's at least set that one up. I want you to have 2 examples before you go home and try this on your own. Because this one starts a little bit differently. This one's talking about a girl who races on a bicycle with 13-inch radius wheels, and she's traveling at the speed of 44 feet per second. Okay, so that's what we're starting with this time, 44 feet per second. And we want to do revolutions per minute. So I'm starting with feet per second, and we want to get to revolutions per minute. Remind me, how did we do revolutions last time? The circumference, very good. I can do circumference with this problem too, because her bicycle has a radius of 13 inches. So I can go from any side of the triangle to the center. My circumference is just going to be 2 pi r, which is 13. 26 pi, which is approximately 81.868. And that is in inches. That equals 1 revolution. So I'm going to keep that in mind as we go. Everything else is similar. It's not the exact same because I'm not trying to get to miles per hour. And I didn't start with revolutions per minute. I want to end with revolutions per minute. But again, I'm going to start with what was given to me, which is feet per second. And I want to change it all the way until I have revolutions on top and minutes on bottom. So let's start doing them. So we'll start with 44 feet over seconds. We can either change seconds to minutes or feet to revolutions. What's one thing we could do first? Good, seconds to minutes. How many seconds are in a minute? 60. Good, so 60 seconds, 1 minute. Good, so the seconds are going to cancel. So I've got minutes on the bottom. That's good, that's what I want. Now I got to start getting this feet into revolutions. Well, the revolution I have is in terms of inches. So can we get feet into inches? Yeah, we just did that a minute ago, right? How many inches are in a foot? 12, good. So my 1 foot is gonna go in the denominator, so my feet cancel out, and I got 12 inches on top. And then I'm gonna end with my circumference, my 81.68 inches is 1 revolution. And that inches goes on the bottom, so it cancels out with my inches before, which leaves me with my revolutions. Perfect. We were not gonna solve that out, but I wanted you to see it set up. So now you have 4.1 homework to do next class. Sorry, we were squeezing there at the end. Thank you for your patience.